application which they are using to share safe places for Black people anywhere in the world where you are. Thank you again. So before we start with the country reports, I'm going to lead everyone through a prayer. I'm going to pray using my own indigenous language, which is normally spoken here in Harare, Zimbabwe, in Africa. Again, I'm hosting the meeting with my sister. She's also one of our developers, our database developers. Her name is Yvonne Dushime. She's from Uganda. Sorry, she's from Kigali in Rwanda. I thank you all. I can see more people are still joining, and are not accepting those who join using phone names because we come across with intruders who try to disturb at the meeting. Again, let me lead everyone through a prayer. I'm going to pray using my own indigenous language. Let us pray. Namate tenzi mababa tukutendeni chipo choupenchano chiwanezwa tava pamberi pechigaro chenyu Mwari dai mungatitungamirira zvese zvachataura nezvatichaita nguva zvinofamba zvakanaka zvese tenzi ndosami iyo mbiri yenyu negano isingaperi. Amen. Yes, to those who have just joined us, welcome to another interesting edition of I Love Black People Pan-African History. Lined up for today, we're going to have country speakers from different nations who submitted through their country reports. And also, we're going to have a healthcare lecture from Nana Akua Zenzele and the Pan-African History from Dr. Tyreen Wright. To those who doesn't know Dr. Tyreen Wright, she teaches at the City of New York University in the United States. She's the one who leads us through the Pan-African History course. And also for those who are not in our WhatsApp groups, I would encourage you to drop your phone number so that you'll be added to those groups, and also so that you can receive handouts and PDFs for the lectures. But it will also be pre-recorded on our website, on our Facebook page, and on our channel, YouTube channel. So to those who are watching us live from Facebook, you can also introduce yourself through the chat room, through the comment section, I mean, and also let us know where you are connecting us from. Thank you again for joining. Yeah, to start off with the country reports, we usually want to know what's going on in different parts of the world, and also to get updates from different countries. We're going to start off with our sister, Anna Stella from Kenya, to lead us with country reports, which she compiled. Yes, Sister Anna, can you hear me? Yes, Sister Anna, can you hear me? Yes, you can unmute yourself and present the report on behalf of people of Kenya.
Okay. Here, greetings, my family from I Love Black People. Here is my Kenya report for 27 August. For the first time in history, in Kenya, we had a very smoothly election. On 9th August, there were cases of corruption, yes, but this time Kenya have decided not to take part in political, not to be divided by politics. We have come as one Kenya, one nation, united, although upside there in the parliament is a big war. Can you see me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, although our leaders are fighting themselves. On Monday, Raila Amolo Odinga, one of the presidential candidates, filed online cases to the High Court rejecting the result. He's saying they were invalid. For now, we are waiting to hear from the court. We have two counties, Mombasa County and Kakamega County. The governor's papers, they came in wrong style. So the election is not finished in those two counties. Monday, they will elect again with new papers will become. So governor from Mombasa and Kakamega not yet elected. Here is my activities for group activity. Ambassadors and members in our country group made time to help all new members with their challenges with with weekly tasks, and we encourage everyone to seek and clarification and just a minute. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, and we encourage everyone to seek clarification and assistance.
All right, thank you, Sister Anna, for giving us an update for the report. Were you done reporting?
No, not done.
All right, you can go ahead.
Okay, ambassadors and members in our group make time to help all new members with their challenges. We encourage everyone to seek clarification and assistance. I'll just read the COVID-19 update. COVID-19 update accumulative confirmed cases 3,038, 105, death 5,673, recovery 3,200, 293, submitted by Anna Stella, African Diaspora. I am because we are.
Thank you so much, Anna Stella. I am because we know it's almost midnight there in Japan. Hopefully you rest and kick off tomorrow as a strong Black woman. We really do appreciate you in standing in solidarity with our movement and also recommending safe places using our application, which is called the Love Black People Safe Places app, all the way from Japan, but representing your nation, which is Kenya. And also would like to thank all the members from Kenya who also participated in the elections, and they shared the places which were safe and also no criminal records which we had from our members from that side of Kenya. And also we couldn't get in touch with people from Angola, which recently held their elections there. So, but definitely we'll get we have our members from Angola to present on their reports. Again, thank you so much, Sister Anna. We are crossing over all the way to Guyana, where our ambassador Clyde Fowler is going to give us a report and a presentation on behalf of his nation. Yes, Brother Clyde Fowler, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Good morning, good morning, good morning again, brothers and sisters. I would like to start by giving a quote from Dr. John Clark, which says, "Religion is the organization of spirituality." Sorry, my internet is acting up. Religion is the organization of spirituality into something that became the handmaiden of conquerors. Nearly all religions were brought to people and imposed on people by conquerors, and is used as a framework to control their minds. I'm currently here in Guyana, and we are having some issues where the government, we had elections, and the government took over the reign of our country, and they're before the courts through there was a guy in the government of the day who decided that he was going to cross over to the opposition, thus giving the opposition and the regime to have dominance in the country. However, we are Pan-African movement here in Guyana. We have been struggling to make ourselves known, because the people of African descent, the Ipadji, a group of African Guyanese, come together, and they decided to capitalize on the reparation funds for the Africans here in Guyana. However, recently the vice president of this country would have gotten on the news and shared that $500 billion, almost $1 billion was given to the reparation committee for the Guyanese African people, but was squandered by the few that put together the group and was used for their personal use and gain. So the African here in Guyana, we have been left, just with the news that was given. The Ipadji then just called a press conference, and they decided that they're going to share their side of the story. But when, because I'm from Pan-African movement here in Guyana, the Guyana branch, and I'm the international ambassador. So when we heard of the situation, we decided to contact the Ipadaji group and other African groups here in Guyana. We were surprised to actually know that this group that was supposed to be collecting funds on behalf of Africans and the groups that are representing Africans were doing a disservice to us because we weren't able to get the needed help that was needed. For example, the Guyana Water Authority decided that they were going to uproot our, we have a mall where we have a portion of land rather, where we erected some African artifacts and stuff to show forth our culture and history. Because most of us Africans here in Guyana, we came from Ghana and other parts of the Caribbean. So we try to get back to our roots because here in Guyana, we're the only English-speaking country in South America. And we are not part of the Caribbean, but yes, still we are part of the Caribbean because we are strategically placed at the Atlantic. So from where we are at here in Guyana, we can cross right over the Atlantic straight into Ghana. So that's how strategic we are. But our culture has been neglected, and the people who has taken on the reins of leadership, and that in the form of Ipadaji, received fundings to help support the African people, but they decided that they're going to use the money to do their own bidding and their own things. Thus, the African organizations are now split. There's a big confusion amongst the Africans here in Guyana, and I'm thinking, and as I was reading the quote, that is what has been done throughout this country, because we're also the new Isle giant here in the Caribbean and South America, but with the, as they call it, the Dutch disease that comes with the oil, the oil wealth, we are finding that cost of living has gone up, everything is rising, the salaries of people are decreasing, and the government of the day, they don't know exactly what to do because of this newfound wealth. They don't know how to deal with it. So find those that are in power is of the African ethnicity. So they're supporting their own, while the Africans here, we are like crabs in a barrel, as the saying goes. We're fighting each other. On the part of COVID, we have 248 cases, no deaths so far, thanks be to God. We are also, they said they found one case of the monkeypox here in Guyana, but which turns out to be smallpox and not the monkeypox. So we give God praise for that. Black excellence means someone who is Black, who portrays great qualities and abilities that make the Black community proud. This is what I Love Black People stands for. We want to ensure that we not only pride ourselves in who we are, but we stand on the responsibility and we advocate such. So my task here today also is to encourage you to download the app. If you haven't done so, download the app, share the link, you know, install, get persons to get this app into their phones, and let us share, let us advocate, let us make sure that as members and ambassadors, let us be on the live, the Zoom, on the Facebook, and let us share this empowering collective Black sovereign app so that persons can be protected from all forms of whatever that is coming against us as Black people. I stand here today to let us know that we are who we say we are royalty, we are special, we are proud people, and we have a culture, and we have what it takes to lead this generation to victory. I am because we are here from Guyana. I'm Ambassador Clyde Fowler. Thank you.
I am because we are. Thank you so much, Ambassador Clyde Fowler, for representing people of Guyana and also giving us updates in terms of COVID, monkeypox, each and every one, and also the reparations and all the sorts of funds which were squandered there. We hate you. I thank you. Hopefully, each and every one, everything will be resolved due to your influence and power as well. I thank you again, Brother Clyde Fowler, for presenting on behalf of people of Guyana all the way from North America. Yes, moving forward, we're going to have our brother all the way from Liberia to give us a report. His name is Bute K. Boo. Yes, brother, can you hear me? Yes, you can unmute yourself, Brother Bute. Yes, Brother Bute, can you hear me? You can unmute yourself. Yeah, I think our brother from Liberia is facing some network challenges. We'll try again to get in touch with him so that he can give us a report of what's transpiring in the people of Liberia. Yeah, so moving forward, we're going to encourage each and everyone to use the application. The link has been shared in the chat room, and also on the Facebook. You can see the link in the description. You can grab the application, explore it. Let us know that if you don't understand it, let us know again. If you don't understand it, our moderators are there to help you, and also always feel free to reach out to us so that we can assist you. And also, if you do have any features or anything you should like to add, the application was designed by you, members and ambassadors, and you are the one who are requested to have some features on the app. Let's keep on making the application good, better, and excellent. I think our brother is now back. Yes, Brother Bute, you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, now.
Yes, we can hear you, Ambassador Bute K from Liberia. Go ahead and give us a report.
All right, thank you very much for giving me a to people. Well, I would like to make a decision organize any.
Yes, sir, Brother Yes, sir, Brother Bute. I think you have been challenges. Yes, sir, Brother Bute. I think we do have some network challenges. We hardly hear you. I will make sure that I will share your report in all our platforms, in our WhatsApp groups, so that people can have a clear picture of what was transpiring during the week in the Liberia, and also giving us the report of the activities which you did during the week. So thank you again, Brother Bute. Our apologies for the internet interruptions on your side. Hopefully next week we'll try again if your connection is strong enough to present a report. I thank you again for the effort. We really appreciate you, Ambassador. We humbly appreciate you. Yes, for those who didn't have a chance to download the application, kindly do so. You can have the application through the chat room. It has been shared, the link has been shared, and also on Facebook, as I said, you can get the links through the description. Again, thank you all. Yes, moving forward, I would like to give a clear update about what this application is being used for, and to those who doesn't understand it, it's been preached in all our WhatsApp groups. It is one of the best thing which we ever designed. We came up first with a website which we're using as an online digital guide, specifically made for Black people all over the world, whereby places where they are treated with respect and dignity are being shared through our website. If you haven't checked our website yet, kindly do so. It's iloveblackpeople.com. On the website, there are many resources which are there. You can see also our radio show, which are being aired on Sirius XM channel 141 each and every Thursday, repeated on Saturday and Sunday as well. And also, if you join the meeting, the Saturday Zoom meeting earlier, you can also have a chance to hear about our last session for the radio show as well. And I can see more people are still joining, but they are joining using their names. So unfortunately, you can't allow those people who join using the names of their phones. We need real names so that we won't have intruders trying to disturb the meetings here. Yes, so I think Yvonne, you're going to give us just a quick update on what has been updated on our Love People Safe Places application and a clear description on the new features which were added so that the nation and everyone else all over the world can know. And I would like to encourage each and every one of you to update the application as well. You're on the Apple Store and the Google Play Store. Yes, Sister Yvonne, you can give us just a quick 5 minutes updates and also about the application.
Yes, good morning or good afternoon, depending where you are. As my brother once said, I'm Yvonne Dushime, and the database developer of I Love Black People. Like a quick update about the app, with the I Love Black People Safe Places app, you'll be able to get more like points, to gain points when we are sharing Black-friendly businesses. It's not only when you are sharing Black-friendly businesses, but also like every activity you'll be doing, you get points because of that. And also, we recommend you to update your app. I shared the link, but also my brother Awad can help me again to share the link. You can update the link, then you start receiving notifications, and also help us to get your brothers and sisters download the app, that we can build a better world for Black people where they won't face racism and xenophobia. So if you have any question or comment, you can leave it in the comment section. I'm still on the call. I'll be able to follow up and respond to you. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much, Sister Yvonne, for giving us an update about the application. So to those who have updated the application yet, kindly visit the Apple app so that you can update it in the Google Play Store as well, so that you can get the new application which was developed and which was shared. The link has been shared in the chat room. Yes, I'm going to give you everyone a quick update on the reports and plans of our Love Black People for this upcoming week. So this upcoming week, I'll be traveling to Zambia in Lusaka, whereby I'll be meeting members and ambassadors who are supporting the movement by buying the I Love Black People t-shirts. These are the type of the t-shirts which are going to be sold in Lusaka. They're going for $10 each. So our brothers and sisters who are in Zambia will be in touch. And also don't hesitate to reach us through our WhatsApp numbers, which have been shared on Facebook. We shared the post about this tour, and we're going to have it on this upcoming Saturday. And also for those who are interested to join the movement by working for the I Love Black People movement, you can check through your emails and also your WhatsApp. There is a position for paid moderators. Just do your CVs and send through, then you can be conducted for interviews. So the interviews probably they are going to be in place in this upcoming week. So make sure that you send your CVs on time. You can share your CV through our email, which is info@iloveblackpeople.com. And also you can get in touch through WhatsApp to the number which shared the job positions. So for those who would like to work for the I Love Black People as moderators, you can reach out to our sister Kamchirai. She will be posting in the WhatsApp about the CVs, and also for you to get conducted for the interviews, you need to also to share your CV. So don't just say you are interested, make sure that you produce a CV or a resume so that you'll be conducted for the interviews. So if you'd like to know more about being a moderator, you can get in touch with our former moderators. I can see also our current moderators. I can see there's Antonio Domingos. They can really assist you on how the job is being done and how it's being taken care of. So don't hesitate to share your CVs. And also you should be a person who is active on social media, I can say, so that you can be able to preach the Love Black People Safe Places app and share with everyone else. Yes, I can see Nana Akua has joined, so maybe today she will we have the lecture early so that she will have a plenty of time to share with us about the healthcare and the holistic. So everyone, welcome Nana Akua. So for you to be greeted or for you to receive a shout out from Nana Akua, be active by just turning on your camera so that she will see you and shout out to you. Thank you. So Nana Akua, welcome to the healthcare lecture.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. Yay, I see some cameras popping on. Hey, Yvonne, how are you, Award? Hey there, Miss Linda. I see David. Akuman, I may have mispronounced that. Antonio and George and Tamu and Clyde. Hey, Brother Haki, I see my brother there. Now, okay, I can't see the face very well, but I can tell the camera is on. So greetings, everyone. I appreciate you showing your beautiful Black faces. Let me see if there was anyone on the next page. I guess not. So thank you for joining us today. I'm excited. We are speaking today about the second part of our stress release and relaxation therapy modalities or relaxing healing modalities. But I have a few questions I really need. I need your input, right? So hopefully you can type in a response, right? You ready? I need to know a few things. We are considering offering a line of products. And we will only do it if you normally have problems accessing certain things that we've talked about here in the healthcare class. If you are in fact able to access things through our site at I Love Black People, and maybe not some other means, or if you're just not sure what to get, we're looking at offering some supplements and products and things of that nature. So I have a few questions for you. I'd like you to, and you can privately do it. I have a little time after my time is over today, and I can also, jot them down if you don't want to list it publicly in the chat. But I'd really love for you to give some feedback as to what health challenges you currently have, or someone that you care for, or someone that's in your family, whatever your current health concerns are. Something you'd like assistance dealing with. I know sometimes people send me emails or will message me and have a particular question. I'm simply trying to formulate what supplements might be most useful that people would be interested in or need. And then I would like to know if you are currently taking any supplements. So if you're currently under a certain regimen where you're doing certain vitamins or certain herbal or food supplements, I'd like to know sort of what those are to see what you're already using, or if there have been something that you've seen or heard me talk about or cover during the lectures that you're interested in and maybe haven't found. And I know I always say, I know we have people from different parts of the world. I know some things are not as easy to access, while some of us have access to any number of things. But I'd like your feedback in the chat, if you will, please, please, please. Me paucho, I beg, right? I want you to give me that feedback so that I can really get an understanding from this group. And then of course, on the WhatsApp group and other means, I would, get feedback and figure out what we may need to offer in that regard. But we don't want to embark on this if it's not something you need, because then that would just be something extra for us to do that's not necessary, or, wouldn't be pursued, or people would not be interested in. So please take a moment, think of that. If there's something you messaged me about in the past, if there's a health issue you have that you have been concerned about, and it could even be a nuisance type of thing, not something where you've actually had to seek medical attention or that you're not under a doctor's care for instance. It could be, oh, my energy is low, or I get headaches, or I have this pain in whatever part of my body. Like, what are some of your health concerns, so that we'll just better be able to prepare for this endeavor. Awesome. Okay, so please do that as I see if I'm able to pull up our lessons for today. And I don't know if it's Award or Yvonne, if you'll allow me to share the screen.
Yes, you are allowed.
Boom, there it is. Okay, so I think you can see what I have here. We talked about the benefits of deep breathing last time. So I want to move into some other areas, but let me just remind you, we talked about, what stress is, some of the symptoms of stress, and some of the means of addressing and relieving stress last week. And we focused on the benefits of deep breathing. And what I'm scrolling through here are a number of handouts. Pardon, some of them are crooked, as you see, right? And I must say that some of these handouts are many years old, and I had cut and paste from different books and health fairs or flyers or whatever I had come across to kind of compile a packet on breathing and meditation. And so this is just sort of some of those various types of breathing exercises and guided meditations and relaxation exercises and that sort of thing. So I'm scrolling through those. However, feel free on your own time to experiment, explore which of these breathing exercises may suit you. We know that conscious breathing has so many benefits to the mind, body, and spirit. So we really want you to take advantage of that. Thank God we don't have to think about breathing, right? It's one of those involuntary and voluntary actions that the body takes on. But when we do consciously breathe, we get a lot of benefits from that. And so another benefit, or another technique, I should say, to relieving stress is massage therapy. And so this handout just gives you some of the benefits of that. So we know that touch is very important. A lot of us don't have the opportunity, the blessing, the opportunity, or situation to where we're constantly touched. But healing touch is so important and can be really, really beneficial to the entire and overall well-being. We know that it comes in many forms, but in this regard, we're talking about massage therapy. And we know that this touch therapy in particular eases muscle pain, improves sleep quality, reduces tension in the muscles. It enhances circulation. We know that it improves joint mobility, relieves stress, stimulates movement of the lymphatic fluids. And we know the lymphatic system is what helps us to fight off infection and boost our immune system. We know that it helps to speed healing of soft tissue injuries, improves mental alertness, and boosts the immune function, just to name a few. And so if you are able to, and I'm not really talking about sensual massage, not that there's anything wrong with that, but I'm talking about therapeutic massage, bona fide therapeutic touch therapy, where the person or practitioner knows different types of hand movements, different parts of the hand, the forearm, even the elbow, and different parts of the body that can be used to stimulate and manipulate the different muscles in the body. Full body massage, It could be Swedish, it could be deep tissue, it could be shiatsu, it could be the hot stone massage. There are so many different types of massages. If you are able at any point, and definitely if you're able on a regular basis to do this, this will have many, many healing benefits for you. And of course, we know that sometimes we are not able to have the benefit of someone else touching us. We can utilize some of these self-massage techniques. This handout kind of gives an idea. Some, of course, will require a partner, some, though, you can do on your own. So there are several parts of the body that we can easily stimulate on our own, whether it's our feet, whether it's our lower back, whether it's our shoulders, the back of our necks. There are different exercises and movements and techniques that you can also use if it is just yourself. Reflexology is an excellent thing. Again, if you can go to an actual reflexologist, that's all the better, but this is something that you can do for yourself. You can do self-reflexology, where you stimulate the different parts of the feet. Also, certain parts of the hand and ear. Not when I was studying it, but now as I was getting some of the handouts together, I found that they have handouts for face reflexology and all sorts of things. That was not part of the traditional hand and foot reflexology that I learned decades ago. But now you can find charts where they'll have zones or reflex zones or areas for the face, for the ears, for the hands, for the feet. And essentially, in its initial stages, we will primarily talking about foot reflexology and then, of course, hand reflexology. And the thought or the concept is that there are reflex zones or points on the hands and feet that correspond to pretty much every part of the body. So if you are having back issues, then you may stimulate the arches of the feet. Or if you're having headaches, you may stimulate the big toe or in the center of the big toe. Or if you're constipated or having colon or bowel issues, then the lower quadrant of the feet corresponds to the colon and the small intestines, and so on and so forth. Arm, shoulder, knee, every part of the body you can reference and stimulate and promote healing through the feet. I've always preferred the foot reflexology to hand reflexology, but of course, over the years when I was doing this, some people are not as comfortable with massaging their feet or showing their feet at all, so they would opt for hand reflexology. I do think that you get more benefit from foot reflexology, but wherever you can get it or however you can get it, it can be a really healing tool for promoting relaxation and stress release. So these next few charts just kind of give other examples or models of where you can find the different parts of the body on the hands and feet. I may have even put one in here. Okay, so for the ear. And of course, also people who are into acupuncture or even a specialized form of acupuncture called AcuDetox that's used in a lot of drug treatment or drug detox facilities. There are different points on the ear that help mainly deal with the withdrawal symptoms. And in that same regard, can help with relaxation and stress release, because the focus on those acupressure points on the ear is to help the body relax, fight off the stress, fight off the stress and urges from detoxing from drugs. So the ear reflexology or the ear acupuncture or AcuDetox can be very helpful as well. It's a little more meticulous because you're dealing with a smaller surface, but this gives you an idea of what parts of the ear correspond to different parts of the body. And so let me say, I think I'm going to scroll past the crystal part and I'm going to come back to that. I definitely am a very strong advocate for crystal healing and the use of these natural substances that God created that helps us with so many things. But I want to get to the flower essences. So we'll go back to crystals. And again, the goal here is to give you as many tools to handle stress and to induce relaxation as possible. So it's not as simple as drinking a cup of tea for somebody, who's not a tea drinker, or it's not as easy as saying, oh, just go and relax and take some deep breaths for somebody who's a little, high strung and finds it hard to relax or to meditate and that sort of thing, right? So we have to increase our toolbox, right? We have to enlarge what methods we can use to relieve stress. So one such way is balancing the emotions. So there are, from what we call the English flower essences, 38 trees and shrubs that have flowers, that the essence of those flowers are extracted and they are used to internally to balance the emotions. They deal with any and all emotions from anger, resentment, to despondency, to depression, to sorrow, to pity, to grief, mental exhaustion, and any and everything in between, excessive joy, or you name it. So it's basically allowing the body to not suffer the emotional stressors, and to clear the mind and, get our emotions in check. I will say, though, that this is not an easy method to use because it requires you to kind of look a little deep and admit certain characteristics that you may consider a flaw. So, and you'll see exactly what I mean even if you're just sitting here reading agrimony, which is the first one listed here, it kind of presents it in what could be perceived as a negative, right? So you're like, oh, that sounds bad. Someone that's, has inner torture and, they put on a facade. Oh, so they're fake. And, oh, they're wearing the mask. So this is sort of that dark, sometimes ugly part of us, right? When we get into certain emotional spaces. But this is how you get out of it. These are remedies that help move you from that dark place, from that emotional low, right? From that sunken place, right? To where you don't want to be. So it's very, very important. And it could be as simple as I had a divorce, or I, lost a job, or I got into a fight with a friend and I'm bitter, I'm angry, I'm mad. It could be as simple as taking willow, right, for bitterness, right? And your whole world may look completely different, right? Your perspective changes, right? It allows you to put on your rose-colored glasses, as I say, right? So even though it moves you from a dark place, know that the sun shines on the other side. And on the other side of it, you find joy, you find that balance, okay? So I want to highlight a few. I mentioned the English flower remedies, there are 38. Know that there are other documented flower essences as well. In Australia, they have 42 flower remedies that have been documented and used to balance the emotions. And I'm sure in other parts of the world, there are herbs, maybe they've just not coined them as flower essences. But this is specifically used for healing how we feel. And I always say, this is so you have a real answer as to the question, how are you feeling, right? And I always say that's the most frequently asked question, right? And I also say that the response is usually the biggest lie, right? That most of us tell on a regular basis. Maybe not in our whole lives, but on a consistent, regular basis, that's probably the answer that we more frequently than not lie about, right? Because so often we'll be asked, how are we, or how we're feeling, or how we're doing, and we say, oh, I'm fine, oh, everything's good, or okay, you know. Very seldom will you have someone that'll be really vulnerable and honest and open and really tell you how they really feel. And I understand for different reasons, depending on who you're with or where you are or what time is allowed. Maybe you just don't want to get into it. But so that you, for yourself, can answer how you're really feeling, and then have something to be able to do about it. That's key, right? That's paramount. Right? So let me go over and highlight a few of these. There are 38, so I certainly will not go through all of them, but some of my favorites, and I think that can be most often, you know, used. And some of these may be you, and some of these may be people that you know. And of course, if it's a loved one and you say, hey, you know what, I got this remedy, or I learned about this flower essence, and maybe you should try it, you know. A gentle way of letting them know that maybe they need to correct some misconduct or some bad behavior or some negative or dark mood or emotion. So let me go to, let's go with cherry plum. So this is for a person suffering from uncontrolled, irrational thoughts. They have a great fear of losing control, doing something terrible. They may feel like they're going crazy. They may have bursts of temper, like a temper tantrum, and this doesn't have to be a child, but because many adults have temper tantrums, and they may suffer from, you know, impulsivity. This might also be the person that is suicidal, right? Cherry plum is the remedy that gets you on the other side of that. Chicory. This is for the person that's really possessive. They demand respect and attention. They're usually selfish. They want everyone to conform to their standards. They usually have that martyr syndrome. And there usually are people who kind of interfere and get involved and kind of, you know, step out of line. May also be a manipulator and will manipulate certain circumstances or situations. Chicory is what is called for in that regard. Elm is another one of my favorites. This, and it sounds really simple, but again, this can really improve your life. Elm is for the person that's temporarily overcome with feeling inadequate and responsible. So they have a lot of tasks on them, a lot on their shoulders, and they're just feeling like they cannot get it done. It's too much. This is a person that may say, okay, this is just too much, or I just can't handle this, or I just can't do that, right? But normally they're quite capable. So it's not for the person that is, you know, kind of always spacey and out of sorts, right? And it's all over the place. This is for the person that normally keeps it together, normally can get a grasp on things, but just for the moment, they're just so overwhelmed. This is usually like a mental fatigue type of thing. Elm is for that. Gorse is another one, and I've often highlighted this one. I think in a time where there's a lot of grief and sorrow and hopelessness, this is useful for a lot of people in these days and times where there's a lot of sickness and death. So I often will reference gorse, but gorse is for folk who are hopeless. They're desperate. They are feeling like, oh, what else? What else will happen? You know, or what's even the use of going on or trying or doing this or doing that? They have sort of that defeatist attitude. Gorse helps to bring one out of that emotional imbalance. Heather is for people who are obsessed with their own troubles and experiences, right? They can't stop thinking or talking about what has gone on with them. what they're experiencing, how they're suffering. This is the person that can't get over whatever bad has happened to them. And that's the topic of every conversation. They're usually talkative bores, right? So they're going to talk. And it's usually just going to be about their woes, their problems. And usually this is the type of person that is a poor listener. So, right? So they're not going to really ask you a lot. They're not going to really seek out how you're doing, how you're feeling. They want you to take in their problems and listen to them. Heather is the remedy for that. Hornbeam. Hornbeam is another favorite of mine. This is for the person that has Monday morning blues. Basically, you know, hard to just get up, get started. They're fatigued probably from the week before, maybe from the weekend. But again, mentally fatigued. This might be the person that's a procrastinator. Whether it's the person has a lot to do and that's why they don't get around to things, or again, just feeling overwhelmed and mentally blocked. This helps get them out of that and move forward to do what it is that they have to do. Another one of my favorites is right beneath Hornbeam, impatience. Impatience is for that person that is impatient. They're usually easily irritated, can be a little melodramatic, right? And just want to go. Everything has to be done right now. And, you know, lacks patience. These are usually the people who have certain conditions like high blood pressure, maybe even heart disease, maybe don't sleep well, usually will have something like adrenal burnout, and are always looking to maybe not avoid sleep, but get as little sleep as possible, because they feel like they have to get to the next thing. They have to get done what's on their to-do list. So impatience, which is a flower from a shrub, this is the remedy for that. Let me go down. Yes, I like oak and olive, but let me just talk about olive. Olive is for the person that is drained of their energy, right? This is physically fatigued. It could also be coupled with some mental fatigue, but this is where, you know, here in the States, they have these commercials that say depression hurts, right? I don't know if you've ever seen those, and they may have them abroad as well, but it basically says, the concept is you may be depressed or you may be having some kind of emotional or mental anguish, but then it also has a physiological impact, right? There may also be something physical that happens or transpires from your mental or emotional strife, right? So it could be that type of physical fatigue, or you could just be lacking energy. Olive is excellent for helping to clear your mind, balance your emotions, so that you are not feeling that physical fatigue from whatever you're going through mentally. And I think this is important because, and I don't know how many people have given me responses, but I will say a very common concern for people is always, I'm not having enough energy, or I'm fatigued, I feel tired, or I'm not able to go through the day and complete all of my tasks without drinking a 5-hour energy, or without, you know, taking some ginseng or something. You know, people are always trying to push more, push harder, go longer, be stronger, be more energetic. And honestly, I always shy away from giving herbal or natural remedies for that, because I don't want you to underestimate or underplay at all the importance of sleep, good restful sleep, and a good healthy diet and physical activity. But when you are also getting those things in line, you may very well need something like olive flower remedy, or you may very well need some B vitamins, or you may very well need some ginseng or some adrenal gland, boosters and herbs that help with that. But energy, I know, is a big, big issue or concern for people, but I want you to know that you can't overstep some of these things. You have to start with good sleep and maybe some olive. So let me scroll through. I want to go back to crystals, and there's so many. Again, there are 38 of these. Star of Bethlehem is, I think, an important one to mention, because even if you want to do the flower remedies, but you don't know which of these 38 to choose from, they have something called 5 remedy or Rescue Remedy 5, which has 5 of the 38 in it, and Star of Bethlehem is one of them. And basically this treats all the effects of serious news, right? So if it's a bad accident, a death, an illness, any type of trauma, this remedy helps you to deal with the blow, the hit from getting that bad news, right? So this is one of the key of the flower essences. And let me scroll down to 2 of my faves. Walnut is one. Walnut protects you against powerful influences, right? Helps you adjust, helps you deal with transition, with change. I've mentioned many times before, right? I was given the example that the only thing that is for certain, right, is change. And last week when we started talking about stress, I said, well, stress is also one of those things we can count on happening, right? But when you go through a transition, when you have to adjust to a change, it can be difficult. It could be, and every stage of our lives will create change. So it could be puberty, it could be going into adulthood, it could be getting married, it could be getting divorced, it could be going through menopause, it could be watching someone die, it could be dying. There are many changes that we'll go through in life, and they can sometimes be difficult. Walnut is the remedy that helps ease us through those changes, those transitions. Very, very important. If you are going through something different, if you just move out of your family house, move to a new state, country, what have you, all of these things can have a real impact. And of course, it can have hopefully a positive impact, but it can also have a negative impact. Walnut is something you may just want to start taking, even if you're not feeling the blow of it. And then the last one I'll mention, I think is last on the list, is willow. Willow is the example I mentioned earlier. So it's for situations where you're resentful, you're bitter, you feel like this is not fair, or you have that poor me, woe is me attitude. Willow is excellent for helping you to get past that. It's similar to when people say, and I'm not big on forgiveness, honestly, but I'm told it's necessary, right? But it's one of those types of things where you're only hurting yourself. So if you're holding on to bitterness and resentment, you're only hurting yourself. That person that has done you wrong, who's treated you unfairly or unjustly, they're going on about their business and about their lives, and you're kind of stuck. So willow helps you move out of that and helps you blossom. So, and I personally use this, and my biggest flex, as they say, or my biggest get back or revenge has been doing well, right? Despite how someone has mistreated me, right? And so that's how you get better, feel better, and then you move on and be productive, and you live the life that God put you here for. And then let them sit over and be jealous, and they'll have to take that other remedy for jealousy. But willow is very important. So we know, we've already talked about herbs. We know that there are what we call sedative or nervine herbs that deal with calming the nervous system so that we can sleep, so that we can not feel anxious, so that we can get through difficult times and relieve any stressors, whether mental, emotional, or physical stressors. So this handout just gives some of the descriptions of these calming herbs. And I think the best note here is that all will have calming effects, but they'll also have other benefits. And we know that herbs are just wonderful like that. So you'll find some that in addition to helping you sleep, they'll also help with your digestion, or in addition to helping you fight your anxiety, it'll also help lower your blood pressure. So go through, you can make really wise decisions as to which herbs you'll take for your stress and anxiety. And you'll usually want to choose the ones that will give you added benefit. You may have some additional health concerns or issues that you want to address. Okay. So I think that's the last here. So let me just say a word on crystals. Crystals, we know, are natural deposits, earth deposits. There are caves where these mineral formations form. You can go and visit caves or caverns. You can see the different rock or crystal formations. And we know that these different formations contain a certain amount of energy, a certain amount of earthly power, healing power that can help the body in different types of scenarios. So I've highlighted ones that help with depression, with stress, and with anxiety. I think I just did depression, anxiety. And the main thing is there are many, many different crystals used for many different things. Some people just love to look at them. Some people will meditate with them. Some people will use them for physiological illnesses. You know, there are crystals that will help with cardiovascular disease, with hypertension, with digestion, and so on and so forth. But as it relates to our topic today, we know that there are certain crystals, the energy that these crystals emit will help with depression and anxiety and stress and those sorts of things. So I've just provided a list here that will tell you the the crystals that are great for depression. So carnelian and rose quartz and sunstone and smoky quartz and tiger's eye and lapis lazuli. These are all great for depression. There are crystals that are great for anxiety: amethyst, clear quartz, sodalite, kyanite, citrine, jasper, tiger's eye, shungite, moonstone. There are all of these wonderful rocks, gemstones, crystals, whatever name you want to call them, that really assist in our healing. You can place them in your room, by your bed, under your pillow. You can hold them in your hand. Some people will carry them in their pocket. You can put them in your car, in your office. There are all sorts of ways to use crystals. And further up, then I'm scrolling back, they'll give you examples of how to use different ones. They'll even, if you see here, there's even ones that you would not put in your bedroom. Turquoise is one that is not good to have in your bedroom, right? But it's a beautiful, beautiful crystal. We know that they're most known or notably used by Native Americans in different rituals and different healers and for different healing purposes, but not the best one to put in your bedroom. There are ones that you can put in the bath and so on and so forth, ones that you wear on the body. Pretty much all the jewelry that I wear are all crystals, right? And so it could be just some that I just love because they're beautiful, or it may emit the energy or the healing that I need. But again, sometimes it's just because they're beautiful. So again, I won't spend a lot of time with the crystals because it's one of those things where I feel like I would just ramble on and on about it. I have a issue, right? My name is Nana Akua, and I am a crystal collector to the point of where I'm probably an addict. That's my NAAA spiel, right? So I spend a lot of time shopping online for crystals, searching crystals, seeing different forms that I can find crystals in. So I'm just gonna limit myself in how much I talk about it, but I have them in spheres and round balls and eggs and angels. So you can get them in so many different ways. So with so much information about that, I will stop there, but know that that's just one other tool you can add to your toolbox in terms of relieving stress and anxiety. And so I'm going to, before I sign off, I will I'll sign off, but I will look at your answers. I hope you gave me some feedback. If you haven't yet, please do. But I'd love to know any health challenges that you have, especially as it pertains to any supplementation that you need that we may offer in a line of products, or if there's certain herbs in particular that you already use, that you would love to get in high quality and support our effort and our movement as well. But just kind of collecting information right now to see if that's something that we would, move forward with, okay? So please, if you haven't added that into the chat, please do, please do. And if you do not have the packet that I have taught from today, feel free to email me. I'm sure it's listed there in the chat. If not, I'll put it there. And so we'll see you back next week. And as always, I bid you good health and peace.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nana Akua, for a wonderful lecture. Hopefully each and everyone really enjoyed the lecture and you are ready to relieve your stress problems using the knowledge which you are getting from Nana Akua. So for the handout, I did share the link in the chat room. You can reach out to nanaakua1@gmail.com for your handouts in PDF. Yes, so I think so. So one day you can reach out to Nana Akua and you kindly post through the problems which you are facing so that it can be discussed and be shared as well. All right, thank you all. Moving on, next we're going to have the Pan-African History Lecture from Dr. Tyreen Wright. Yes, Dr. Wright, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm here. Okay, thank you, because I was trying to unmute. Hold on one second. Okay, so welcome everyone. Good afternoon, evening, wherever you are. So this is the Pan-African History and Organizing course, and you will see me momentarily. This past week, you had a film to watch, and the film was called Cuba, an African Odyssey, which is a film that came out several years ago. And it is about Cuba's role in assisting in Africa's liberation struggles. I'm just getting my cord because I want to be able to plug in both ways. I'm going to show a brief clip from the film so that those of you who are not officially in the group can also follow along, but I'm gonna hope that everyone actually watched the entire film and that this is just going to be a revisiting of the important points in the film during this session. Okay, so you'll see me momentarily. First off, I want to talk about something very important because it's timely. Let me get the camera going here. Let me see. It's timely in the sense that, okay, good. You can see me, or I hope you can see me. Okay. It's timely in the sense that, everyone knows about this war in Ukraine, and for some, for the first time, are developing opinions about Russia and the Eastern European nations that are involved in the war. So Russia and Ukraine. This first portion of the film, if you watched it, Cuba, an African Odyssey, actually discusses precisely a assassination that took place as a result of the setting being the Cold War. And it's very important because this assassination is often referred to as the most important assassination in the 20th century. Hold on one second with the camera. I've got to adjust my light. But that being said, that assassination was of a particular person named Patrice Lumumba. And so the film begins with the assassination of Patrice Lumumba, and then moves on to the other African liberation struggles that Cuba assisted Africa in. Now, this is the session. I'm going to try to stick to the time. Can somebody, let me see. I have, what is it? 11:19. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. All right, good. So I'm going to try to stick to the time and do this very quickly, stick to our 30 minutes, because I noticed that I go over almost every single session. And so I know people have other things to do. That being said, so Patrice Lumumba was assassinated essentially by the United States as a result of the liberation of the Congo. All of this is a convergence of a number of issues: the exploitation of Africa by Western powers, a major Pan-African figure, because Patrice Lumumba would fit into our list of proponents of Pan-Africanism in the sense that he was struggling for a unified Congo. Okay. And that would be interrupted and eclipsed by the Western nations, particularly the United States, although it was Belgium who was their colonizing nation. Essentially what happens is that the Congo would go from being colonized by the Belgians to being internationally colonized. So in other words, picture a hand, a white hand probably, with its grabbing the resources out of the Congo. And what the events around this assassination would cause would lead to many European hands grabbing the resources of the Congo. So it moved from Belgian Congo, colonization to international colonization. And at the top of the list of the international colonizers would be the United States, who financed and planned the assassination of Patrice Lumumba and the rise and installment of Mobutu Sese Seko. Okay. And that opens up the conversation for us to discuss, you know, how much are other people invested in interrupting or not allowing Pan-Africanism to develop amongst African people? What you should get from that particular case is the fact that there are many detractors of Pan-Africanism. In other words, let me say it another way. There are many detractors of African unity. Why? Because African unity means that they can no longer exploit Africa, that whatever Africa and African people have to offer will go to and be for African people first and foremost. And so that in and of itself is significant. In other words, we're not just walking along, marching towards Pan-Africanism without interruption, right? Without people trying to interrupt it and trying to disrupt it. Why? Not just simply because they're not good people or they hate African people, but because on many levels, when you talk about resources, they have a vested interest in stealing and using the resources that come from Africa specifically, and the human resources that are African people. Why? Because many of these nations and their people are resource poor. Okay, I'm not saying anything revolutionary. Europe is resource poor. If you think about in a day what you eat that comes from Europe, I mean, organically comes from Europe, not packaged in Europe and sent back to Africa, but what organically grows in Europe? Maybe some tea. What else? I mean, in a full day, I could, if there's anything at all, if I got one or two things that I consume in terms of nourishment that come from Europe, it would be high. Okay, almost nothing we consume actually organically comes out of or derived from Europe or European nations. So they are resource poor and have been, which is part of what colonization was about, going out into the world and sort of, you know, taking land and resources, okay? This forces them out into the rest of the world, overpopulation in Europe and being resource poor, okay? So don't ever let them tell you that they're the wealthy people in the world. They are not. They are the poorest people on earth, okay? We come from the wealthiest places on earth, okay? That is just a fact. The world's resources are along the equator, with a concentration in Africa, the Congo specifically, and the 9 surrounding countries. So back to the conversation at hand, whoever controls the Congo and the 9 surrounding countries controls the bulk of the resources in the world, period, hands down, okay? Unification of African people in that part of the world means African people control all the major resources produced in the world, and they are not interested in allowing that to happen, okay? So I wanna just cut to really quickly, I'm gonna take myself off camera and I'm gonna go to the clip in the film. The other portion of what I'm gonna start is, briefly, the conversation around Amilcar Cabral. I said I was gonna address it. I don't know that I will get to it in this session if I stay on time, but the other conversation that I want to at least initiate, because you'll be having readings from Amilcar Cabral, return to the source, is the conversation around ethnic diversity and our continuous struggle for Pan-Africanism. This issue of ethnic differences and still having to fight white supremacy and culture, in spite of the fact of not necessarily being homogeneous with the African person to the left or to the right of you. And rightfully so. We are African people, Black people, the most diverse people on the face of the earth. We give birth to the world's diversity. Scientific fact, okay? Therefore, of course, we're not all the same, right? We don't all speak the same language. We don't have the same exact culture. But I still do believe what Sheikh Anta Diop says about the cultural unity of Black Africa, which means that there is a common thread throughout all of our cultures. Example, you don't disrespect your mother. You may think that that's like an understanding, but if you have access to European cultures or you're in proximity to them, take a look at the difference in upbringing and how the children can speak to the mother very early on, okay? I've witnessed infants tell their mothers they hate them before they can even say a full sentence. And they are certainly not from the same culture that I am from, and neither are they from the same culture most of you are from. So there is a thread that runs through all of our cultures that is consistent and in terms of our values, all right? So we are not homogeneous, we have great diversity, but we have a level of cultural unity, a cultural continuity through all of our cultures that is a consistent, okay? Respect your mother, respect the ancestors, things of that nature, okay? So even if I don't get into a full discussion about Amilcar Cabral, I'm going to just initiate and know that your next readings will be on Amilcar Cabral. And he discusses just precisely that. How do we struggle in terms of having great diversity, but having a common detractor or common plight in light of white supremacy and culture. So I'm going to keep talking, but I'm going to go to the video and cue it, okay, and show just the portion on Patrice Lumumba, okay? Oh, so another thing, can you just let me know if you guys can hear me while I do this?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, perfect. So one of the other things that I wanted to say while I cue this is the fact that, you know, what I started to mention about the Eastern Bloc and African people is, I'm sure many of you notably saw the treatment of African people in Ukraine by Ukrainians, and how they were denying many African people access to transportation out of the country and things of that nature. That's an important point, because many of us feel like, oh, you know, this whole war in Ukraine, you know, Russia and then Ukraine, and, you know, whose side do you pick? No, we don't get involved in that kind of stuff, because one of the things about Europeans in particular is that as much conflict, and their whole story is riddled with conflict. But as much conflict that they are born out of, right? They wage tribal wars in their own locations for 1,000 years before coming out into the world and colonizing various places in the world. And in spite of that, they still are unified around exploitation and oppression of African people. Isn't that something? Okay, they are unified on that. Okay, and so I want us to keep that in mind, that at the end of the day, you know, unfortunately, this case, Patrice Lumumba, is a perfect example of how an African nation was going to sort of ally itself with Russia in order to escape international colonialism by the United States and the other Western nations that are allied with them. But in essence, this Cold War between the United States and Russia would cause the disruption of African independence and unity. Okay, because of two resources, cobalt and coltan. And these resources allow for, you know, industrial production for the military, arms, weapons, so on and so forth. And Russia has its own source of these resources, but the United States doesn't. Okay. And they were not going to allow Russia to have a monopoly on these essential resources that are essential to them growing and developing their military and their military might and power in the world. So, you know, this is the story of African independence, African Pan-Africanism interrupted by the Western world. Okay. I'm about to share my screen in a moment. And I'm going to, okay, I have permission, yes?
Yes, you have permission.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, you guys see me doing this on my device. Okay. And another thing, let's not fixate on Cuba. Cuba is just the entry point to this conversation. Can everybody
July
hear this?
1991 in Havana. It is Nelson Mandela's first trip outside Africa since his release from 27 years of prison.
Great, thank you.
But why would the legend of struggle against oppression decide that the first person he wants to thank for helping to end apartheid is Fidel Castro, the very man who is regarded in the West as an oppressor of his own people? Fidel Castro and 500,000 Cubans took part in the African wars, which ultimately ended colonialism. This little-known story began in 1960, only a year after Cuban revolutionaries triumphed. Their struggle had captured people's imagination, and the young feisty leaders, Fidel Castro and Che Guevara, emerged from 3 years of guerrilla war as heroes. The wave of independence in Africa was spreading like wildfire. That year alone, 17 African countries gained independence, and 30 others started their revolutionary armed struggle. African revolutionaries were looking to the Cubans as a model for their own independence. Cuba was living proof that David could beat Goliath.
La gran humanidad ha dicho basta y ha echado a andar, y su marcha de gigantes ya no se detendrá hasta conquistar la verdadera independencia. Quería referirme específicamente al doloroso caso del Congo, único en la historia del mundo moderno, que muestra cómo se puede burlar con la más absoluta impunidad, con el cinismo más insolente, el derecho de los pueblos.
Che Guevara was revolted, and his speech gave a clear signal that Cuba intended to act. The case of Patrice Lumumba in the Congo was symbolic of how African independence would be crushed by Cold War strategic interests. It was Lumumba's assassination that sparked a new era for many African revolutionaries, and with it started the epic of Cuba and Africa. The Congo, one of the largest and richest countries on the continent. The Belgian colony was demanding immediate independence. Patrice Lumumba, the young articulate clerk, led the movement that negotiated a peaceful solution to end Belgian rule. On June 30th, 1960, King Baudouin arrived in Leopoldville, the capital named after his great uncle, to hand over power.
Le roi Baudouin était dans une voiture découverte. Il saluait la foule, etc. Un Congolais s'est précipité sur la voiture. J'ai vu les gardes du roi dégainer. Et tout le monde avait peur, se disait il va tuer le roi. Non, il a simplement sorti l'épée du roi de sa gaine. Et il s'est mis à danser avec cette épée. C'est très symbolique ça. C'est comme s'il lui a arraché le pouvoir.
On Independence Day, all the dignitaries assembled in Parliament. King Baudouin was to announce the transfer of power to the new government. Patrice Lumumba had just been elected Prime Minister. But the euphoria of independence did not last long. That same day, Lumumba lit a fire that spread through the entire continent.
L'indépendance du Congo constitue l'aboutissement de l'œuvre conçue par le génie du roi Léopold II.
Le discours du roi Baudouin, qui nous rappelait comment la Belgique nous a sortis de l'esclavage, comment ils ont lutté pour nous sortir des maladies du sommeil et patati patata. Ça a été un choc. Nous ne nous attendions pas à ce rappel malheureux parce que nous estimions que le roi Baudouin n'avait plus de leçons à nous faire ce jour-là.
À ce moment-là, Lumumba se lève, qui n'était pas programmé comme devant parler à ce moment-là. Il se lève et il parle. Il fait un discours très militant.
Combattants de l'indépendance, aujourd'hui victorieux, je vous salue au nom du gouvernement congolais. Nous avons connu les ironies, les insultes, les coups que nous devions subir matin, midi et soir, parce que nous étions des nègres.
Rappelez-vous comment on traitait le blanc par rapport au noir. Rappelez-vous dans les écoles quelle place nous occupions. Rappelez-vous tout l'apartheid. Alors évidemment, réaction immédiate de toute la délégation belge. D'abord, beaucoup d'agitation pendant que Lumumba parle.
Qui oubliera enfin les fusillades où périt tant de nos frères, ceux qui ne voulaient plus se soumettre au régime d'injustice, d'oppression et d'exploitation.
C'était mal reçu par les Belges, mais nous avons tout à fait répondu à nos aspirations.
Et au moment du dîner, on demande à Lumumba de présenter des excuses. Il ne s'en fait pas. Il présente les excuses en disant « Je pensais que je devais dire un certain nombre de choses, je les ai dites, donc si ça blessé, je m'en excuse et je demande qu'on tourne la page et que nous puissions voir les choses autrement. » Mais il était trop tard. La majesté était lésée. Et la majesté lésée a décidé le soir même de se venger et tout a commencé.
Lumumba wanted to govern independently, but there were only 30 university graduates in the Congo, so it was agreed that for the next 5 years, Belgium would continue to run the important departments of the new state, including the army. The soldiers felt excluded from the newly acquired freedom. Within days, they started a mutiny, which led to the breakdown of the entire country.
The troops were roaming the streets, all armed, and it was quite a racial problem. The mutineers were there, and they had matiti, that's bushes on their helmet, which was a sign that they were prepared for action, for combat. I can remember one yelling, "Venez, venez, sale flamand." We were all dirty Flemish. That was some expression that meant you were really bad, and we're going to kill you. More stories circulated about killing, rape, pillage, etc. It was, if you will, the Iraq of today.
Let me just pause this and say, this guy is a U.S. agent, and he is one of the people who was involved in essentially trying to assassinate Patrice Lumumba. He would try to poison him. He would be sent things to poison him, so on and so forth. I'm going to skip a little further along, but ultimately what happens is that the United States, Patrice Lumumba reaches out to the United Nations for support. They betray him, send troops in, and essentially the troops were there to police him instead of, quell disruption in the Congo amongst the masses. And he is then kidnapped and assassinated. And I'm just giving you the highlights and the points because I want to stay close to the time. So I'm going to skip a little further. So, in terms of some of the things that are being said about Patrice Lumumba's relationship to the United States, he came for a visit, he asked for, this and that and the other. I don't know that they are necessarily to be believed, right? Because of course that's the other side's interpretation. So whenever we use a resource, let's be clear, just like the Journey of Man, a Genetic Odyssey, we're using these resources for the core information and the historical relevance, but not necessarily, or the factual historical information, but not necessarily the interpretations offered by the talking heads in the film per se.
Revolution. Eisenhower decided to send the CIA into action.
I received a message saying that people in Washington were highly concerned about the activities of the Prime Minister, and that they hoped that he would go, it would be a change in the government. The next thing I knew, I received a cable saying that someone by the name of Joe would arrive in Leopoldville, and I was to take my instructions from him. And the instructions were that I was to remove him physically from, in other words, assassinate Lumumba. I asked first, whose instructions are these? And he said, they've come from President Eisenhower. The president wanted this done, and I was to put together these poisons and bring them out to you. One of the poisons was a tube of toothpaste that had poison in it, so that if he'd brushed his teeth with it, that was been the end of the man. All of these things I put in my safe because I didn't want them lying around the office. If somebody may say, may I use your toothpaste? I felt that I had some pretty good operations going, and in the long term, my operations would achieve the objective of removing Lumumba from office, but not killing him.
The Congo plunged into utter chaos. In the confusion, two separate secession movements broke away from Lumumba's government. The country desperately needed to be brought under control.
The United States started to worry about it because the Soviets were backing Lumumba. So President Eisenhower said, well, we may have to use NATO there to keep the Soviets out. But finally, cooler heads prevailed, and they asked the UN Security Council to send a peacekeeping operation to the Congo. President Eisenhower made some very basic policies which are still in existence today. And he said that if there are troubles in Africa, we don't want to have to send troops there, or Europeans should not send troops. It should all be done by the UN.
Lumumba thought that the arrival of the UN peacekeepers would help him bring stability. He was wrong. The UN mission provided the missing ingredient to oust his government. Lumumba had just promoted his personal secretary, Joseph Mobutu, to Army Chief of Staff. Mobutu was to coordinate with the UN troops to stop the country's descent into anarchy. Instead, he turned to Larry Devlin.
Mobutu said that the army was very unhappy with the prime minister because he was turning the army over to the Soviets. He wanted to mount a coup d'etat, but there was one condition. They had to know that they would have the support of the United States government. I had tried and failed to achieve by legal means what they wanted, the United States government wanted. So I stood up and shook his hand. Finally, it took me a while to do this, and said, I guarantee you the support of the United States government. And the coup, he said the coup will take place within a week, and it did.
UN troops were supposed to protect the independence of Congo, but they would not allow the Congolese troops, which were loyal to Lumumba, to operate. The mission of the United Nations troops was misused to topple the regime of the government of Lumumba, or at least not to protect Lumumba.
Les troupes des Nations Unies ici vont encercler la résidence du Premier ministre. Sans aucun mandat, sans aucune autorisation, il y a une crise interne, les Nations Unies s'interposent et vont mettre le Premier ministre en résidence surveillée.
Lumumba's supporters organized his escape. He was sneaked out of his house, bundled up in the back of a government car.
Le bruit s'est répandu que Lumumba était parti de chez lui. On a commencé à le chercher. Mobutu a demandé aux Nations Unies de lui donner des hélicoptères. On l'a poursuivi. On l'a arrêté. On les a mis dans un hélicoptère. On l'a ramené ici, ligoté, comme un vulgaire bandit.
On Mobutu's orders, Patrice Lumumba was sent to his death. It was barely 6 months since Congo celebrated independence.
C'était terrible. Vous enlevez celui qui a le flambeau, l'icône, tout d'un coup, comme ça, et d'une façon très barbare, en utilisant les mains africaines. Alors c'était frustrant, c'était écœurant, c'était un appel à l'insurrection populaire. Il faut venger cela. Ce pays est à nous et je vais me battre pour lui. C'était l'étincelle qui m'a fait conduire sur le chemin du maquis, de la guérilla.
A witch hunt tracking down Lumumba's followers started in the capital. One by one, the Lumumbas fled to the safe haven across the river in Brazzaville. They organized themselves into an armed rebellion led by the 23-year-old Laurent Kabila.
Okay, so I'm going to stop there. Really briefly, I'm going to go to just the beginning of the conversation on Amilcar Cabral, and your readings will be consistent with that, and I'll have a full out conversation and discussion about it next week, how Amilcar Cabral essentially adopted a more revolutionary and progressive revolutionary stance and Pan-African stance on African liberation struggles, right? He did not just blindly adopt the Marxist-Leninist line. And another point I wanted to mention is the fact that many of our Pan-Africanists and African nationalists very often have embraced Marxist and Leninist ideology. But what we always should understand when those conversations about Marxism and Leninism come up is that they were not Marx and Lenin were not thinking about African people. So their strategies and their tactics and their assessments as to how we should struggle in the face of imperialism and colonialism is always going to have to be different. Example, Marx and Lenin subscribe to a sheer material analysis and class analysis of society, devoid of respect for history and culture as tools of liberation. That can't be for Africans. That can't be for us. You know why? Because part of how we were colonized, part of the process of oppressing and exploiting us was to what? Forbid us to speak our own indigenous languages, forbid us to practice our own cultures. That's whether you're on the African continent or whether you are out in the diaspora, okay? If you are in the diaspora, part of being enslaved was to stop African people who had been recently removed from the continent from speaking their indigenous languages and communicating in their indigenous languages, okay? In every African nation on the continent, part of the colonization process was to stop or forbid people from speaking their indigenous African languages and imposing a colonial language. That's why almost every African country, almost without exception, has what? A European colonial language that is the what? National language. So for us, we have to always include history and culture as part of the liberatory process, reclaiming our history, reclaiming our culture. Another point to that end is that this specific story with regard to Patrice Lumumba and his speech, the December 12th speech, and the entire movement to unify the Congo, once Mobutu Sese Seko came into power, Patrice Lumumba was erased from the history books. It was forbidden to speak of Patrice Lumumba. And so only the artists would recall the story of Patrice Lumumba, the December 12th speech, and their move towards independence in the Congo and unification. It was basically pushed underground, okay, erased. And that is a way to oppress people, to erase their history, to erase it from their collective memory and then from the national narrative. And so for us as African people, our liberatory process always must invoke our culture, must invoke our history, must invoke our languages, which is part of our culture. And you know, the irony, right, that I'm saying this to you, and I too have the mark of colonialism, right? Having been colonized, I'm an African speaking what? English, okay? So just another caveat for you to reflect on in understanding that we can't completely adopt any Western or any European method of liberation or revolutionary struggle, because their struggles are different from ours, okay? Their context is different from ours completely. Okay, so here's just the brief portion. If you're watching, you'll see the numbers on here and you'll see where I'm cueing the film. Let me see. And I'm cueing it to Amilcar Cabral, about 50 minutes in.
To be the empire's Achilles heel. Months after Che retreated from the Congo, Cuba hosted an unprecedented gathering that included virtually every armed revolutionary movement from the 3 poorest continents. The Tricontinental Conference reinforced the island's role as the leader of internationalism. For Fidel, this was a good opportunity to assess the qualities of the revolutionaries he wanted to support. It was undoubtedly Amilcar Cabral who stole the limelight. Cabral, only 31 years old, was leading a fierce struggle against the Portuguese Empire in one of Africa's smallest and poorest nations, Guinea-Bissau.
Esta conferencia, aquí en Cuba, territorio libre de América, y primer país socialista en el hemisferio occidental, es en realidad una grande promesa, una grande esperanza para todos los pueblos que luchan contra el imperialismo.
Pero ya había un antecedente de América cuando se había entrevistado en el recorrido que hace el Che por distintos países, que llega a Conakry y tiene la oportunidad de hablar con América. Y el Che dice que uno de los movimientos de liberación más serios que hay en ese momento y de más posibilidad en ese momento es el movimiento de la liberación de la colonia de Guinea-Bissau y Cabo Verde.
Après les grands discours de Fidel Castro, Amilcar Cabral fait un discours remarquable. Il a caractérisé, je m'appelle ça, très bien la situation en Afrique à partir de son propre pays, en parlant des ethnies, en parlant d'états de pauvreté, d'exploitation, pour justifier l'idée de continuer la lutte armée, c'est parce qu'il n'y avait pas autre voie, parce que les grandes puissances s'opposaient à l'indépendance des colonies portugaises, par exemple.
For years, Amilcar's struggle was not of much consequence. But when the guerrillas started capturing territory, suddenly the importance of this neglected colony became evident. For Portugal, much more was at stake in Guinea-Bissau. This tiny colony could prove to be the empire's Achilles heel.
Y se liberaba Guinea-Bissau, y así se demostró después. Se desprendía la liberación del resto de los países de habla portuguesa que colonizaban. Entonces, allí estaba el eslabón más flojo que tenían de la cadena, desde el punto de vista de los portugueses. No podían permitir, tuvieron hasta que hicieron todo el esfuerzo para no permitir que se dejara ninguna de las colonias, y mucho menos Guinea, que iba a ser el ejemplo del resto de las colonias para su liberación.
Il n'avait pas beaucoup de richesses. À ce moment-là, la Guinée devait recevoir de l'argent du Portugal.
C'était un pays où on faisait l'agriculture, pas plus. L'agriculture arriérée, on faisait la Guinée. Hein? Et tandis que ce n'était pas le cas en Angola où il y avait des immigrés qui étaient des commerçants, des hommes d'affaires. C'était des richesses de l'Angola et de Mozambique qu'ils voyaient, parce que Guinée n'ont rien fait.
The Portuguese were aware of their weakness, but they held a trump card. The government leased a strip of land on the Azores Islands to the US Defense Department. That airbase was used to protect American allies in the east, like Israel and Saudi Arabia. But the lease was renewable annually, so Portugal had every intention to use the Azores airbase as a bargaining chip.
Well, under the fascist regime of Portugal, Angola and Mozambique and Guinea-Bissau were part of Portugal. So the idea of giving up these colonies was unthinkable for that regime. So if we went to them and said, look, you must get out of Angola, we'll be very upset with you and all that, they might well have cut us out of the Azores. So NATO and the Cold War was far more important to us. There was a special law about not allowing U.S. arms given to Portugal to use them in Africa, but they did violate it, and we didn't do anything about it. In fact, we did not cut them off, even though we knew it, they were using them.
Nous n'avons pas même voulu nous mettre dans cette guerre-là entre l'Est et l'Ouest. Nous n'avons pas voulu, non. Mais malgré que beaucoup de gens disaient que ce sont des communistes, beaucoup de gens disaient ça, mais on n'avait pas de preuves. Comme disait Amilcar, nous étions des nationalistes africains, sans option idéologique.
Amilcar knew that it would be difficult to avoid labeling his movement, and having Cuban fighters would do little to dispel the belief that they were firmly allied to the Eastern Bloc. But he had a vision and a very clear strategy as to how to fight his battle for independence.
Es decir, que Amílcar no llega pidiendo, deme hombre, mándenme hombre, ¿no? Teníamos la idea de que habíamos sacado ya del Congo, de que venían a venir más tropas de cubanos a ayudar a Amílcar. Y en aquel momento Amílcar no quería más tropas de cubanos.
Son los guineanos que tienen que luchar. Y tú metes un batallón ahí, va a ser el batallón y no los canguros. Y tienen que aprender mediante la lucha, prepararse para la victoria. Okay. Es una idea muy... Aunque fuera un poco más larga la lucha, era una idea muy interesante de ir forjando en medio de la lucha la nación, que fuera una nueva nación, además.
All right, so I'm going to stop right there. So you see what's left on the screen. It says only this struggle could unite the various tribes. And so I just want to leave that right there with you in how we go into our study and discourse next week with regard to you know, the analysis of Amilcar Cabral, one of Africa's Pan-Africanists. And I'm gonna come back, you're gonna see me. And of course I'm over as usual, but sorry about that. I didn't even know that I got a call. There were a number of things going on all at the same time. I got a call and then I had someone at my door delivering a package. So, but the point is that you get where we're going with regard to the conversation, that Amilcar Cabral understood ethnic diversity in Africa, and that prior to colonialism, the people of Guinea-Bissau were very different and diverse. They were not members, they were not citizens of Guinea-Bissau, right? They were, they had their own ethnic identities that were pronounced and age old, right? Because we are humanity. That was the point of me starting with the journey of man of genetic Odyssey, just to highlight how old we are. We are the parent people on this earth. So we have the longest standing relationships and we have the longest standing rivalries, right? We are the oldest friends and the oldest foes. We have been neighbors since time immemorial. So this thing, white supremacy, racism, colonialism, that has only been plaguing us for the last 500 years or so since Europeans have come out into the world. That being said, this would be the first time that people who are very different in many ways, in almost every way, would have to come together to fight a common enemy, right? Because drawing the colonial lines divided people who were ethnically the same and forced people who are ethnically different from others together, right? So it divided some of the same people, right? And it forced people who are different to be in the same space, in the same national borders as cut by the imperialists. So this would be the first time that they would have to struggle together in order to face a common oppressor, a common enemy. And the struggle itself, the act of engaging in armed struggle, would unify them. Okay, this is a very important point because this is very much what we see ourselves facing now. White supremacy and culture, racism in the world, worldwide racism has forced African people who are very diverse and different into the same situation and conditions. And now we must organize and work in concert together, employing many different strategies and tactics to fight a common enemy or detractor that impacts all of our lives, whether we want to recognize that or not. Okay, so I'm gonna leave it there. I'm gonna take a couple of comments. Thank you, Nicole Lay. Yes, we have to invoke our ancestors. Exactly. And part of us studying this, so one day you can email me at, all right, I'm in the Northeast. I'm from New York, but I'm not in New York right now. So I screenshotted you. Okay, so the video, I'm gonna post it in the group again, but you can go on YouTube. It's called Cuba, an African Odyssey. Okay, it's called Cuba, an African Odyssey. And parts 1 and 2 are still on YouTube. It's a magnificent film. I mean, I use it for educational purposes too when I teach modern African, contemporary African history. Okay. Oh, I have to, that's the great Charles Barron calling me, for those of you all who know him. But I can't, okay. All right, good. There's not a lot of comments, but thank you all for joining us again this weekend. And I will be in the chat in our WhatsApp group. I will repost the link to the film, but we have new readings for this week that will focus on the ideological position of Amilcar Cabral and other Pan-Africanists on the African continent. As you guys know, I mentioned it before, how we're studying this is we look at the rise of Pan-Africanism on the African continent as the highest form and expression, because it's not simply the expression by individuals or organizations, but there is a push for continental unity, which is essentially Pan-Africanist in nature. Okay. Thank you all for giving your time to loving African people with action. That's what we are trying to do here with I Love Black People. And so I will see you all next week. And I am, because we are. All right, folks. Thank you. Thank you.
And because we are, thank you so much, Dr. Taryn Wright, for a wonderful lecture. We really are learning a lot. And also for those who joined us for the Pan-African History Call, thank you. We really appreciate you. We love you all. I am because you are. Have a great weekend. Thank you all.